Good morning. This is Kellaland on the go with all you need to know in news and weather as you start your day.
The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office has identified Iowa men arrested for recent church burglaries.
Last month, Lincoln County deputies were investigating burglaries at rural churches. Last Thursday, law enforcement suspected that a church south of Canton would be the target of another burglary. 2 deputies were in the church when 2 men tried to break in the back door. The deputies saw the men suddenly leave in a black pickup. Another deputy later pulled that pickup over and found meth, burglary tools, and other items of interest.
31-year-old Billy Ty Phillips, 27-year-old John Carr, and 19-year-old Darren Nicholson are charged with burglary, possession of burglary tools, along with possession and ingestion of a controlled substance. This isn't the first time Nicholson has been on the news. In June of 2022, he was arrested and charged with 2nd and 3rd degree sexual assault. The Sioux County Sheriff's Office says that during an investigation, deputies learned that Nicholson had sexual contact with a child since 2017.
3 South Dakotans were arrested in Wisconsin on Saturday, charged with kidnapping an 11-year-old girl in Indiana. Authorities say 2 people from Rapid City and another from Edgemont were in a minivan that matched the description of a kidnapping that took place earlier that day.
Authorities were able to stop the vehicle on a highway where they rescued the girl and arrested the 3 South Dakotans. Police did not release a motive for the kidnapping. Officials say the investigation is ongoing. Police in Watertown are working to return hundreds of pieces of mail, including Christmas cards and packages that were stolen out of mailboxes around Lake Kampesca over the weekend. Police caught 2 suspects from Watertown allegedly connected to the thefts. 27-year-old Thomas Brees and 24-year-old Jared Armstrong are facing charges of petty theft and littering. Police say the case will be turned over to the U.S. Postal Service for possible federal charges.
Officers recovered hundreds of pieces of mail from ditches and roads around the lake. They're asking lakeside residents for any home surveillance video they may have of the crime. Police are also reminding homeowners to not leave letters or packages in their mailboxes for any extended length of time. Instead, you should have someone you know pick up the mail and then hold on to it until you return.
Let's turn our attention now to our forecast with meteorologist Brian Carsons. Good morning, Brian.
All right, our forecast update today. Overall, the weather looking fairly seasonable for this time of the year. For the 1st of January, mixture of upper 20s and low 30s. We are working on clearing skies. We've seen some of that here in the north central. I do think Sioux Falls, once we lift the fog, things will be improving with a high of 31. Rapid City today, close to 46. That's a quick look at weather. We will dive into the details of the extended forecast and some important information there. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Brian. West River Mental Health in Rapid City is looking to offer more to people struggling with anxiety and depression.
With their Pivot Point building downtown, they're there to help everyone at any time of day.
Pivot Point is really a place where individuals or their family members, their loved ones, if someone is experiencing a mental health crisis, maybe they're struggling with an issue, maybe they've experienced a loss and they're struggling with that, and they need immediate help.
Pivot Point offers 24/7 help. A local organization offered people a different way to celebrate the new year. South Dakota Urban Indian Health hosted their Sober with Cheapy at the Coliseum last night.
The event included food, vendors, drummers, and dancers. The goal of the event was to give everyone a sober place to welcome in the new year.
I think it's good for our kids and as well as the adults so that we can bring in the new year sober and, not drinking or fighting or whatever else happens on New Year's Eve.
This was the organization's 2nd annual event. Let's look at some of our top stories.
Now let's get one last look at your weather with meteorologist Brian Carsons.
All right, our weather update. Let's start off the week here and the new year with a fairly quiet weather pattern. It looks like right now that a little disturbance will probably crisscross to our north here the next 24 hours. Originally, we'd mentioned maybe a 20% chance of some snow with that, but even that looks to be fairly weak. So we'll kind of let that scoot by. We will focus to our southwest by the end of the week. The majority of the talking points with this system are to our south. So make sure we're clear about that. I still think that this system is removed from any Arctic air. It kind of fits the pattern here, these southern storm tracks. It's kind of a typical feature when we see these more active El Nino-like patterns, and we've seen many of these tracking to our south here the last few weeks. So yeah, that could maybe affect us here with some travel on Friday, some rain and snow issues in Kansas. We'll see. We'll continue to evaluate how much of that will be an issue. A little bit of this snow could break off and head northward into parts of Ketherland on Friday. I've left that in as a 20% chance of snow. The majority of that energy then will scoop up and head east into New England and becoming a bigger storm there. Now, at this point into early next week, the jet stream starts to energize. We've got another storm system on the horizon about a week out. Now, of course, when we deal with things a week out, there's only so much we can tell you at this point. So my best advice is just kind of stay tuned to the forecast in case this system becomes a bigger issue for us. But I certainly think there's the workings here of a major storm system. The strength and the position of that will be highly determined by how much Arctic air gets wrapped up into this. And that's still something we're debating as to how fast that Arctic air is really going to develop. Is it going to come down in a couple of different chunks? That can happen sometimes. Day 10 on the Canadian model is clearly showing that. The other models, not so much. I think we will get to this point eventually. What we don't know yet is how fast. So again, those are all things to consider. But I'll tell you what, the 6 to 10 day forecast, this put out by the Climate Prediction Center, this should get your attention because we have large swaths of the country above normal, with the tendency for the western half of the country to be colder than average. So we've got foundational elements that start brewing up more active winter weather across larger parts of the country. We'll see what we get here. We're going to be most prone to some of those cold air intrusions. We could pick up some winter snow, but again, a lot of that talk is going to be after or maybe beginning as early as day 7, but more of a story next week. So we got the whole week here to kind of sift through that. I think most of these days coming up, though, are pretty benign. There's not much movement near 30, give or take a couple degrees here and there. Friday, I'll include that 20% chance of snow for now. That's for Sioux Falls. Aberdeen, I've left that dry. A lot of 20s, mid and upper 20s. So pretty close to normal as we start early January, but no major weather systems yet. Pierre, central South Dakota, same idea. We'll probably see a few more 20s here and there, depending on cloud cover and wind and all those kind of things. But the day 7 forecast, yeah, we put a little snow in there, and we've put it into Rapid City. And say goodbye to the 40s. We might be headed into some, different territory as we begin to see the next leg of winter. Find out more details at ketherland.com.